We can talk about the history and theory of graffiti all day, but to truly understand this culture, we need to talk to someone who lives it. Today, I have a very special guest. I managed to connect with Motus, a talented artist active in Canada. He agreed to give us an inside look into the reality of being a street artist, the adrenaline, the style, and what graffiti means to them. Let's get into the interview. What first drew you to graffiti culture, and how old were you when you did your first piece?
What drew me is probably internet more than real life. Like I don't think I noticed graffiti that much, and I even was hanging out with Monkey, which is a mural artist. Um, Probably even before I was really painting, because I met him in 2020, 2019, 2020, I think, 2020, and I only started painting I think at the summer of 21 probably. So like I was inspired a lot by the hip hop culture. Of course, it's just part of the hip hop culture for a very long time. But I was just very into hip hop music my whole life, but never break danced for real. Never actually rapped. You know. Um, well, I did actually rap like every people that grows up and stuff, but like the part of the culture that I didn't really touch of hip hop was the paint, and I painted before though like more like classical art paintings and like oil paintings and pastels and stuff like that. You know, I was following a drawing class when I was younger, but never really got into it more seriously until I got like squeezers, you know, like little mops and paint pens, and then I just started writing a lot in my shed at my house, and then I started going out a little bit more. And first piece, man, I think I don't know when was my first piece, but I remember my friend Paul and Ofusk. They brought me to the yard. At some point, there was like it's like a dog park on the south shore of Montreal, and it's got like legal walls that you can paint on. And they brought like rollers to basically buff the wall out and roll the piece up. And Ofusk came in with a crazy piece, like a very advanced piece. Paul did like a more standard, like I guess a mid-advanced piece back then, and I had like a shitty piece on the side, you know. But I had a good time, man. But I did go paint before that, you know. Bought myself some cans at like a hardware store and went and experiment and stuff. But it wasn't really until like these guys they basically offered me to come and paint with them, and my friend Paul he bought me like 6 cans of Montana paint, which is the paint we're using pretty much all the time here in Canada. Usually like Montana or Dang probably is the two like brands that we use the most, and there's Loop on the South Shore. Um, but I'm pretty sure this one time we had Hardcore, which was high pressure paint, so I had a hard time painting with it and it was leaking and stuff. But um, got to a point where there was other paint we could use, so I got better with it and got better can control, so I could use the much the higher pressure paint also. But yeah, man, it was a pretty shitty piece. I'm not gonna lie. I guess it's a mixture of me being online a lot and I was like in my shed consuming YouTube content, smoking weed at night and like doodling and doing stuff. So I was kind of algorithmically driven to get more graffiti content proposed to me also. So and I liked it, you know. So I kept on searching for more. So definitely, like algorithm of the internet plays a big part in there. But I think it's also the fact that I loved the colors, the shapes, you know, and the kind of skill that there is behind that, man. I think that's one of the things that really drove me to do a lot of graffiti is getting my skill up and getting satisfied with myself, getting better at the art. But mixture of algorithm and friends for sure, and real life connection, real life algorithm. It got me to the place where I am right now. But like I always had the artistic incline, So I guess just everything around whatever is creative interests me. So I think having people in that area in my life, making music with people that paint and meeting people that paint through Monkey and going to events and jams and stuff, it definitely shaped me up to where I am today. But I think why I started like the first like why I started doing like graffiti, it was more like I guess out of boredom, bro. I was really fucking bored that year. I was doing teaching in a school, and I was trying to find something else to do than just doing music all the time, because that was driving me crazy. So I just loved graffiti off the bat, and I think I don't really associate with the vandal part of it. I don't. I like seeing vandal graffiti, but that's not the reason why I started painting. I think it was more for personal, like a personal growth process.
How did you choose your tag or writer name? Is there a story behind it?
Basically, it's just my artist name. My artist name is Motus when I make music, so I kept the same name painting. I just think it made sense. I was trying to get there and find something, and trying to not use Motus to do vandal shit, because I didn't want to get caught, with this name. Also, I don't think I'm necessarily notorious like a lot of people are in this world, but like I got a certain notoriety to the brand where I think it could potentially hurt my business and just hurt me as a person to start doing illegal stuff. And it's not my intention to vandalize other people's property. So definitely at some point I just stopped trying to look for a name, because I was like, it doesn't matter if I paint Motus, because if I do it in legal spots and stuff, then people are I can be accountable for whatever I'm doing, so I can stand behind that with my own name. Even though Motus is not my own name, it's my brand name, but still, I think it's just a good way to have people like give attention to my project. And if they give attention to the graffiti part and they never hear about the music, that's fine with me too. But it's just for me, it's an extension of my creativity with the Motus project. On the musical side, it just like extends to the artistic side with graffiti. I think that's why I just keep those letters, and honestly, I just like those letters, man. I just started getting used to writing them and appreciating them. So I'm probably gonna keep writing Motus for a while, and I know some people, they just change letters sometimes and keep kind of the same as like assonance and stuff, or just like change one letter. But I just like Motus.
How would you describe your personal graffiti style?
I think I just like I like very minimal stuff usually in life. I think that translates a lot in graffiti, where if it's too complex sometimes, or if I don't really personally, I don't really like calligraphy style graffiti, where it's like super jagged lines, and it kind of feels like a creature. I kind of don't necessarily like looking at those as much as I would like looking at like throw-ups. And I think my favorite style at the moment and for a little while has been like the Euro style of like with like a bit wild, but more like throwy, like with more like rounded lines, and like no negative space and letters and stuff. But I don't know, man. I'm honestly exploring right now a lot to get to know what I like and what I don't like. But one thing I didn't really get to doing was like those jagged pieces with the fades and stuff. Like the one that feel like slimy and like spidery almost, you know. I don't really like those textures and as much as I like some very clean stuff, you know. But I feel like it's just there's an expertise that I respect though in it, which is why I appreciate looking at some. But sometimes it's just like um, if I would if I want to get some vibrant thing going on, you know, sometimes this style is not really the style I'm going for, like the metal, I guess, metalish. But I'm starting to get to understand also like the language and stuff. But can you just say the question again so I can line it up a bit?
How would you describe your personal graffiti style?
Okay, so my personal style, I think, has been like crack fill for a very long time. I love crack fills. I don't fill my graffiti well because it's usually well, it's never in a spot where uh, like I would have the time to fill it well. That's the thing. I would have the time, but I don't take the time to because I think the style, the effect that the crack graffiti has hits different for me in a part where there's other stuff underneath, you know, like the layering makes it for me textured, and I like the way it feels, you know, to kind of see through graffiti. But I know it's like a personal preference. I like rugged stuff and simple stuff, and it's just for me, and the experience also of like pulling up to the spot and not having to buff, you know, is a plus. You know, you don't have to take the paint and stuff. And but I feel like people would see it a bit differently sometimes because they'd be like they see it as a disrespect and stuff. But since I don't paint in the streets, you know, I kind of allow myself to do these things and just experiment with stuff and just like apply paint and look how it makes me feel and just kind of react to it and build up on that, you know. So crack fill is definitely one of my like attributes that I think I like the most out of my graffiti. But I can still feel pretty good and make some beveled graffiti. I have a lot of beveled graffiti in my portfolio at the moment. I just made the portfolio up this week to pitch to some people and stuff. But beveled graffiti, you know, like the kind of realistic 3D more than like I'm not a big fan of huge 3Ds, and I've been told recently also that my 3Ds are a bit thin. You know, some with all due respect to some people, they told me that, and they were like, you would have advantage to like thicken up your 3D because you would have more space for color and for other stuff going on, you know. So, and would just take more space. The piece would look more weighty, you know. But I feel like the style that I'm going for at least is a style where the lines are pretty clean, you know. I'm not a big fan of like jagged stuff and like brushed lines and stuff like that. I'm more of like a clean, nice rounded corners type of guy, you know. And if I'm gonna have a nice corner, then I'm trying to make it as clean as possible also. So I think it's just like there's a mix of, that's basically a nutshell of my whole life creativity. And it's like I'm very minimalist when it comes to the ideas and the design and stuff, you know. And when it comes to extensions, I don't put a lot. I try to work towards that so I can expand a bit my style, because usually I just do the letters, and it's like I'm a very performative creative person, whereas once the thing is created, it's like, for me, if it served the purpose, my job is done. You know, I don't need to go like super deep and stuff. But with graffiti is more like yeah, I can just do a tag and the letters will be there, you know. But it's just like, it's all about style really. So the letters are just the tool, you know. So if you're gonna like develop style, I think I don't want to say like I'm like that, you know, because I think it would box me up also. But I feel like at the moment I'm in an era where I went through my crack fill phase a lot and did a lot of throwies with this little guy, you know. And I evolved like you see, like here he's got like a lip, and this one was like a more like an older model, I guess. And even now you see like his little thing, it kind of whips like towards him, towards the middle. And sometimes I do like more waves, you know, so it's like it's got longer, and so it's just like I think there's gonna be something like influenced by throwies a lot, influenced by vandalism a lot, with the color schemes and stuff, and influenced by other writers also, but uh, not as much as a complex style, and letter weight is all over the place usually. You know, it's not like I don't have like a very boxy throw like that. I'm always very, I take a lot of space in weird ways, you know, like I like my piece to kind of travel around a little bit like this, to have the flow to it, you know. So I don't think I have like a very rigid painting style, you know, when it comes to, I just usually take the stray cans also that I have, so I'm not spending hella money on paint and filling it very well and having the exact fade that I want. Usually I just like kind of chaos my way out of it, you know. So I think that's the way I like to describe it, like very organized chaos, you know. Like I have a set of rules that are very precise because of my material and my mindset usually, and I just try to work around those conditions, and the result it gives is usually like a representation of those parameters. But like I have a friend I paint with that literally fills so well, bro. There's like no, like he will like empty cans, you know, on a surface that's already fully painted. He's just gonna like go over and over and like hit the line and then cut it back and cut it back again. You know, he doesn't really care about him. For him, it's just like the result. You know, that's what's important for him. But for me, it's like if I'm gonna have to like draw a line twice, I don't have color to cut it back. You know, so I have to be very careful. And if I make a mistake, then the mistake is in the final. You know, and he's always like, just take this can, bro. And I'm like, bro, no. Like for me, you know, it's like it's done. You know. It's just a representation of my life in general, you know, like the way I paint. So very minimalistic, but also very chaotic and influenced by my environment and the conditions I put myself in, which is usually not the best, and sometimes on purpose, like a self-sabotage type graph, but in a very humble, noble way, you know, I think.
How much time do you spend sketching and practicing on paper before taking a concept to a wall?
Honestly, not that much. Like I know a lot of people, they have like sketchbooks and they sketch like every day, you know, like they like just a bit like their journaling, and then when they come up to the wall, you know, they have like 10 sketches of like different things they can do, and then they just look with their colors and they kind of, you know, and I want to do this one, so we're gonna go buy those colors and stuff, you know. Like I'm not saying like I don't want to do that, you know, but it's just I'm not to a point where that's the mindset I'm in, you know. Like I did sketch stuff and go to the wall like with like the finished drawing, you know, and kind of like there's one I made like a week ago or two, that's been in my cell phone, like a photo of the drawing was there for like a couple months, and I knew I wanted to paint it, but it needed to be kind of big because there was like multiple elements and stuff, and like more details. It was more like wild, you know. So I had more extensions. I was like practicing stuff, doing like rings around the letters and stuff, you know. And just the flow in general was weird. And when I came to the wall, I never like doodle project, you know. Like some people, they do like doodles on the wall and then like project the image of it. But me, when I pull up, bro, I never use the grid. Never. I just always do. I just step back, bro, look at the wall and try to imagine. And sometimes, you know, I did mistakes and ended up having the S a little bit squeezed in and stuff, you know, on paper and on the wall also. But I feel after a couple years of doing it, you know, I can kind of see like how big the letter is gonna be with my body too, you know, and try to have my movement respect a certain range so the letter is not too big, you know, because if you're doing an S and you're going like this and you're stepping out with your foot, your S is gonna be so big, and if you don't step out, then your body's got a limit, you know. So I feel like just understanding these things, you know, make me I guess better at like doing it without a plan, you know. So, and I know a lot of people that always come with a plan, and if you like pull them on a random day and you say, yo, do you want to go paint? If they have no paint and no plan, then they're not gonna come paint. Me, I always go out paint, even if I have no plan, bro. I just need to move there, and once I'm there, bro, that's the plan, bro. Cause I'm right there, bro. I'ma just do it live, you know. I'm just sketching on the wall, like little lines and stuff, you know, sketching on my stuff and then filling it. So basically the same thing as doing the process on the paper, but there's like, it's just me, bro. I never liked doing rough draft, you know. I was in school, bro, writing text and stuff, bro. Oh, you gotta do the whole rough draft and then like do it clean, bro. Why not do it clean on the first time, bro? Like, that's my mentality at least. So I feel like it just affects me in a way that makes me I just can paint whenever I want because of those restrictions that I always give myself. It's like always a challenge, you know. So if I only have one can and I pull up to the wall, I'm gonna still be looking for that spot that I can use my can, you know, and leave a tag or do a little throw up somewhere it doesn't disrespect other people, or get a can in the trash, bro. And I have just enough for a fill-in, and then I have just enough for an outline, and then maybe I don't even have enough paint to finish, but then my shit is up, bro, you know, for another week, and then motherfuckers walk in the tunnel and they see my stuff. So for me, it's more like and I don't really do it for the ups that much, you know. I do it for the feeling that I have while I'm getting up, and like that kind of like pride that you get when you step off the wall and walk it off and be like, yo, like when somebody's coming tomorrow, they're gonna see this, you know. Like that for me is a good motivation enough to just like have the feeling, you know. It's like playing soccer, you know, with your friends and there's no audience. You're not playing to impress your friends necessarily. You're there, bro. You're spending your energy, you know, making the most out of life. I think that's just enough for me. I don't need a plan for that, you know. But I know some people at some point there's like a if you're gonna do a mural at somebody's house, you know, I'm probably gonna pull up with a nice sketch, you know, and a nice plan and a nice mock-up also, so the person trusts me before I even do the work, you know. But me, I trust myself enough to just pull up to the wall and do my thing, you know.
In your opinion, what makes a piece of graffiti a masterpiece?
It's to be done by a master, bro. Straight up. Like they say 10,000 hours, bro. So I don't think you can be a can wizard until you actually spend that much time spraying, bro. You know, you can be good, but a masterpiece, bro, for me is like the same answer that in dubstep and just music in general, bro. It's just like it's all composition, right? So for me, a good like masterful composition is composition where like the flow, you know, is optimal. There's nice space management, letter weight management. The fundamentals are respected, you know. For me, it's not necessary that you can read the letters as much, you know. Like you could look at something for hours, bro, and just let your eyes dance on the piece, you know, and not even know what it says. And the fact that sometimes you don't know what it says, what the letters are, and like it's kind of confusing and stuff, it kind of just mesmerize you also, you know. I think it's just there's like it's like masterpiece also is definitely like in society, you know, like it's not seen the same as in an artistic point of view. Like me, for me, it's not because everybody likes something that it's a masterpiece, you know, like it's the fact that it's made by a master, bro, because the person making art, bro, is putting their art in front of life sometimes, you know, like life's just happening, bro. So if you're gonna do something and make somebody react, for me it's a masterpiece, you know. Like there's ways to make art in life that's like more impactful than others, because you're gonna tap into a certain like society standard, you know. But for me, it's like when your art can be appreciated by somebody else that has the same type of curiosity, you know, that was needed to make the thing, then you can actually start getting like a silent conversation between two person, you know. You just get like you get the values of somebody transmitted through a piece, you know. Then that's a masterpiece for me. It's like, it's about the intention also, you know. Like you can not know what you're doing and do like random shit, you know, but you're still intentionally doing random shit, which for me is like aligning with the masterpiece definition, you know. Like you're gonna get some people probably that they're gonna say like masterpiece has to be like, you have to like have oil painting like this with like a nice shade and realism, and but there's so many art forms, bro, you know. For me, like mastering like composition is a lot more than just like making the same thing over and over again, right? Like you're not a master chef, bro, if you know how to perfectly make pancakes. That doesn't make you a master chef, you know. Like what's the master part in there is the fact that somebody's got like expertise, you know, in different things and can interpret different things in different ways, you know, for different people, you know. Like if me, I look at something and think it's a masterpiece, maybe for you it isn't, right? But if I think it is, then it truly is, because one person thinks it is. So for me, I'm not easily impressed, you know, in life. I think I've seen a lot, and when you get to know how things are made and stuff, it just kind of takes the magic away sometimes. And I feel like graffiti still at some point has this little spark to it, because also because of the context, you know. Like if we're gonna talk like on the vandal part, some people, the paint is not that nice, you know. Like the quality of the lines and stuff is not that nice, but like it's the context, you know, that makes it a masterpiece, because it was done in high pressure environment, surveillance, you know. So for me, is the effect it has on somebody else, you know, is a lot more important than what you think as an artist. Like you think you're putting something out there with a certain intention. I'm like, this graffiti is blue because I love the sky and that's what I wanted to represent in that. Perfect, you know, but that's not what other people are gonna necessarily get out of your graffiti, you know. So I just think, man, people that make art in general and put it out there are already this close to having a masterpiece. You just need somebody to interpret it, you know, to receive it. And sometimes that person is your own self, you know. And but sometimes you're your worst critic, you know. So you'd be making a masterpiece for somebody else, and then you'd be looking at your own shit and be like, you know, this is ass, you know, because you don't think you're a master, but for this other person that knows sweet fuck all, bro, you're an expert, you know. So I think it's in the eyes of the watcher, you know. If somebody's gonna watch art and decide it's a masterpiece for them, then it is.
What kind of music do you usually listen to when you are painting or sketching?
Sometimes I don't listen to music at all, bro. I just like the sound of the can, the ball, cling, 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 just rolling around, you know, the roller going like. I just love the sound of the session also, you know, like. But I'll definitely put some like trap music mix. We had this mix from Ned Nice. DJ Ned Nice had a crazy mix, man, on I think BTS radio or NTS radio. I'm not sure what the mix is called, but this is the one we've been playing for the past couple sessions, for the past couple, even for the past year, I think. Not every sesh, but it's just like a nice hour and a half mix. So I don't have to change the music all the time, because that's usually me that I bring the speaker, and if I listen to beats on my SoundCloud, it's most likely gonna be like drumless instrumentals, and once in a while there's gonna be like a dubstep tune popping, and I'm gonna like change it because I don't want to listen to dubstep outside and on the broad daylight, you know, like I'm rather listen to hip hop and Mac DeMarco and stuff like that, you know. So I don't know, I mean, it varies honestly, and I don't listen to a lot of music in general, so I just have go-tos, you know, like the Peach Instrumental is definitely a good one, good hip hop selection, some J Dilla playlist, or some very hip hop stuff, definitely.
Do you feel a strong connection between graffiti and hip hop music, or do you view them as separate cultures today?
They're not separate cultures, man. I think no, definitely not, bro. No, because graffiti is part of it's part of the hip hop culture, bro. It's one of the four main elements of hip hop, bro. Right? So I guess you know, I just think the sound is like an urban sound, you know, like when you're walking in the city with some boom bap, and you kind of just feel the minimalism of it, you know, enough to be able to bump something and like just kind of get lost in the music. Also, I think that's one of the things I love about hip hop is that kind of jazzy rock feel. It's like a good hybrid of everything, I guess, that I've been listening to in my life, and now that I'm like an adult also, I think it's just like there's an energy to this music that's not like super hyped and also not like super sad. It's just like a nice it's just like weed, bro, you know. For me, it's like a good high, you know. You're gonna just like listen to some boom bap and just like float, you know, just glide in your whatever you're doing, bro, you know, like just like repetitive music. That's what it does, right? That's why people listen to like techno and house and stuff also. But I think hip hop is just like a 90s kids thing also, you know. Me, I'm born in 95, man, was raised with the small Reeboks and the Nintendo 64 and shit, you know. So like there's like that culture where I think hip hop was like going up a lot with the fashion and everything around it, you know. The graffiti in the 90s was a craziest era, I think. Would have loved to like witness that, but I just think it's linked in terms of energy and cultural, like it's always evolved like hand in hand, you know. And I'm pretty sure, bro, people that do graffiti been listening to hip hop for the longest time also, because that's kind of where it stemmed from. But you know, I think graffiti also stemmed from the punk era and like the grunge kids and shit and the train hoppers, you know. So it's not like all Fat Joes and you know, like the big watches and the big like flexing the saggy pants and shit. It's not all that, you know. Like I think graffiti is a lot more than that, but it's definitely been marketed to be very close to hip hop, and you know, it's like two best friends, you know. Like they're not the same, you know. Like I feel like graffiti is different than hip hop music in terms of what it does to me, you know. Like I think it's just like it's two sides of a metal, of a cube, if you want, you know. It's just like it's a different way to compose things, you know, because music is composition, and hip hop music has got some rules to it, and now there's a lot of style to hip hop, you know. There's people doing trap, there's people doing boom bap, there's people doing like drumless beats and stuff. So I think it's the same for graffiti. It's all about style, you know. It's like it's always the same colors, always the same lines, you know. It's just the way you organize stuff and who you hang out with, and you know, there's like there's waves also in culture, and I think at the moment, at least me, I'm part of a culture where people are kind of bringing back the boom bap, you know, bringing back the minimalist beats, and also bringing back the vandalism part of graffiti a lot, man. I think I didn't really see like I guess the part from 2K to like 2K20, I didn't do graffiti at all, so I can be like a witness to it. But I feel like in the last couple years, bro, graffiti culture has evolved a lot, where more people are getting to know how to make graffiti. They see videos on YouTube, people film themselves a lot more. There's less consequences also when it comes to the law, you know. The buff is always there, but I feel like you know, people were telling me shit where they were getting caught, and like the guys on the train yard, they wouldn't call the cops, you know, like they would fuck them up on the spot, and you know. So I don't know, bro. I think things are changing, and there's like a democratization also of graffiti, where more people are getting to know about it, and I think it's a good thing. But also there's more inexperienced people that make the same thing over and over again that other people do also, you know. Like the creativity part is the same as the music, you know. Like, since it's more accessible, there's more tools that make nice lines, but then it's like on the creativity part, sometimes it suffers a bit, and you know, some kid can just go buy cans at the store here and start bombing all city, even though his graffiti is very shitty, you know. Back then, bro, you had to rack the cans at the hardware store, and you had to go somewhere where you knew you would not get caught, and practice a lot, and get a mentor, you know. I guess now is, and I'm not trying to say like I did this, because I did not, bro. I just started in 2020, so I'm part of that new wave, you know. But the thing is, I'm 30, so I got a maturity to it, where I think most people that are kids that are starting to do graffiti, bro, you know, they probably have a great time painting with their friends and shit at night, bombing stuff. But for me, like, I'm paying taxes for the past 10 years. It doesn't make sense to me, like vandalizing other people's property, you know. So if I'm gonna paint something, like it's either gonna be legal or like very low key, or somebody's gonna have the authorization somewhere, and you know, we're gonna hit the spot. And you know, I'm not like against the come up and like the democratization, or I don't know how you want to say that, is like a gentrification, I guess, of graffiti a little bit. But that's one of the reasons why I paint, bro. You know, I probably wouldn't paint if it would be just like crazy vandals, crazy criminal shit. You know, I would probably not be in this environment. I try to stay away from danger and risks. You know, overall, as a human, I try to keep a healthy life, and you know, work for the people around me, not against them. So I feel like I just like took a tangent where I love painting, you know. That's definitely for real, because I've been doing it for 5 years, and I don't think I'm gonna stop anytime soon. But like, I don't have enough motivation to start painting on other people's shit like that. You know, for me, so there's like a fine line, and I think it's hard to manage, you know. But overall, bro, it's more accessible now, so there's gonna be more people painting, more people doing masterpieces also, you know. So what was even this question?
Do you feel a strong connection between graffiti and hip-hop music, or do you view them as separate cultures today?
Well, so to conclude, I think there's a difference now, you know, that there was probably less before, because it was more like a synergy between the two art forms, and the hip-hop world, you know, was a bit more segregated, I think. But now, with the democratization of hip-hop and graffiti, I think there's more people that are going to be bound to do it, that are not necessarily from the culture, you know. So I think it might at some point create other branches that are further away, but I think at the core, it definitely is It's like brothers and sisters, you know.
Where is the boundary between graffiti as vandalism and graffiti as fine art?
To me, bro, honestly, there isn't really one, you know. Like, I think it would be in the intention, you know, like some people just want to destroy shit, bro, you know. And by destroying shit, they end up creating shit. And sometimes what they create is not, it's not a good trade-off, you know. So I feel like some vandals in this city do it very well to a point where I honestly don't really care if they even hit private property at this point, because they're just so good, bro. You know what they're leaving there is so nice, and they're doing it out of their own time. You know, on their own conditions with their own money, or not. You know, maybe they're stealing it, and then who knows? But at the end of the day, bro, some things I need to respect. You know, like there's a human, bro, behind every single name you see out there, bro. There's like a little literal person that's like fighting demons and whatever they're fighting to be able to paint, bro. You know, like some people just paint because they love it, but some people, bro, they have other crazy shit going on in their life sometimes, you know. So I'm always gonna look at the paint as somebody, you know. For me, it's never only paint, you know. And sometimes it's yeah, there's most likely there's pain, bro. There's something that needs to be expressed, bro, you know. Because if not, bro, like me, I tried vandalizing stuff when I was younger and shit, bro, and I just couldn't get myself to do it, bro. Because when I was in front of the act, like about to write on it, bro, my shit would spin, bro, you know. Because I'm an overthinker like that, bro. I be thinking about how's this person gonna feel when they come out and they see that I wrote on their fence and shit, bro, you know. Like, and sometimes like you're at a park, bro, and there's like a table there, and you're just gonna write your name with the 20,000 other names that are on there, and they're just gonna come and slap a nice brown paint on it when they don't want to see your shit anymore, you know. So I think there's levels to this shit, you know. Like, that's why the law is not like all black and white, you know. Like, if you're gonna get caught doing graffiti and then like you're actually like buffing some shitty graffiti with a nice piece, bro, I think for me in the like virtue part, like the ethic part, you know, I feel like there's levels to this shit, you know. It's like my bro Monkey always says, sometimes law requires you to disobey it, you know. You're not like, it's not like you're like doing something illegal, like knowing it's illegal necessarily and like doing it with full intent and shit, but it's just like you're kind of just going around whatever you think is the right way to do things, just to be able to get that thing there, you know. And I've seen him do vandal murals where he would pull to a spot. He got asked by people to do a mural, and he would just come up and roll this thing just like he would be hired. He would act like he was hired, you know. Would pull up, buff the whole spot like a nice buffalo, you know, like did a nice job, bro. Did some nice lines, add his ladders and his tools and shit out, you know. Not like, you know, like he was just like doing the thing, bro, for real. And the police pulled up, bro, and they were like this, because they appreciated the work he was doing for the community, you know. And he was like, this guy is not gonna cause us any trouble today being there, you know. They could recognize that. But some other places, bro, you'd be doing that, and they would come still and be like, you got permits and stuff, you got the permission from the person that got the building, and you'd be like, no, bro, I just came here to give this thing to people that live on this block, you know. Just came to put these colors here so people could see this instead of like tags, and you know. So I don't think fine art, which is basically like what you would describe as the mural, the hired work, the minute, you know, like the very detailed work, you know, that we would call that fine art, like masterpiece, right? For me, like I can see a tag, bro, on the wall. it's like a weird ass line, you know, and I'll be just reading the letters and be like, oh shit, like this guy handled his B like this, you know, and then I'd be like, that's crazy, you know, and it's just like it just looks like a blob on the wall, bro, and if you just like drive by, there's nothing crazy there, but once you start like looking into things, bro, you know damn well, bro, like you can have a crazy wobble be like a masterpiece, like just the one shot is a masterpiece in itself, bro, and then you start using it in a song and you're not killing it, you know. So for me it's like the fine line between like graffiti like as a vandal act and as like a virtuous act. You're just putting paint on the wall, bro. It's the same thing, you know. It's just like the intention with which you're doing it, you know, and the impact it's gonna have on other people. If you're gonna just do like a jagged line like this all the way across the building, like on the whole block, I don't think a lot of people are gonna like you around the block, you know. Most people are gonna resent your action because they're gonna be like, that's fucked up, you know, like you fucked our property up, and it's not bringing value to anybody else but you in this moment, you know, because you're getting that graffiti action in, but like painting on other people's property is not exciting, bro, you know. Like it's, for me at least, it's like there's like it's exciting. Well, you could say it's exciting because it would make me like put all my whole life into perspective, basically, you know, every time. And it's like, you know, some people, bro, that's what they need in their life, and you know, that's how they find peace, you know. They just go paint, bro, and they don't give a fuck. And if they get caught by the police, bro, so be it, you know. It's just like for them, it's like doing cocaine or like going to find heroin, you know. But it's much better, bro, because you're just painting other people's shit, you know. But and it's like at the end of the day, bro, I'm gonna close this question on that, but it's like most people will never even look down at somebody, bro, that's got a needle on their arm, bro, asking for money, with a kid, with a dog, bro, even. They will never even lift their fucking eyes to look at this person in the eyes, bro. But when somebody is like riding on property, bro, putting paint, like literal, like that's what we do all fucking year long, bro, paint shit, you know, like you're painting your shed green, you know. What does it matter if there's like a can? It's like, but it's like, look away, you know, like you would for everything else. I think we'd be living in a better world, you know, if people would just like not give a fuck about a tag, bro, you know. And it's like people are getting so worked up, and then they spend money buffing shit that instead they could spend money on an artist to make a nice mural out of it, you know. And if we would be like a very, very aligned society, bro, we would get muralists that are in the community, that know the people that tag, or that know people that know the people that tag, and have them pull up, bro, to the jam and have something of them on the wall, you know, so they can be commemorated, so you don't have to cross them by putting your fine art over rubbish graffiti, you know, like. Because that's the thing, is like you're gonna put your mural there, and the person that has the tag underneath, they're gonna come back, bro, and they're gonna fuck your work up because you disrespected their heart by putting your fine art mural shit over them. Because you're doing a hierarchy basically by putting your art over them, and that's what people in these properties, that's what they think, you know. They'd see a tag and they'd be like, we don't want that, we would rather have art on our building. And that's what I think too, personally, bro. I would rather have art on my building than tags, you know. But it'd be nice, bro, if I had like a wall where people could just come and paint, and have a wall that's always being refreshed, you know. And people that want to do vandalism, they're not gonna come there anymore, because that's not what they're looking for. They're looking for that vandal spark, you know, and you're kind of taking that away from them by making the wall legal. So it's just like there's like a push and pull there, where like I don't think you can get any muralist ever if there's no vandalism, you know. And I think that's like a point that's been made across the years, you know. Everybody been saying it, and I agree with it, because I don't think I could see myself being like doing murals in my life if there was no vandal paint ever, bro. There's no way, you know. We wouldn't be making like nice designs and letter work like that, you know. Like there's some there's some crazy culture in like the lettering style and the extensions and the graffiti styles there is, bro. I don't think I could name them all, bro, you know. I'm still discovering new shit. Sometimes I see a piece and I never seen this style before, you know, and just get to analyzing it and stuff. But I'm not gonna put murals over tags just because they're considered fine art by society. For me, like I said, the masterpiece is in the eyes of the person that looks. So, you know, I'm never gonna look down on the tag unless I can't read it. Like there's like that feeling where I'm like, like this, you know, needs some practice, right? But it's the same for dubstep, bro. You know, like I'll always support people starting to produce, but I'll tell a producer when their synth is off key, or you know, like if the line is not nice, bro. It's like I'm not gonna tell you, like I don't find you. We're not here together, you know. Like I'm just gonna look at your work and judge it from my perspective. And from my perspective, there's like a jagged line there, and your M could be better, and that's from my perspective. But at the same time, that's the thing is when you're getting into that more like mural. Most people they have higher standards on the conditions in which they're painting and whatever they're doing. So, you know, if you're gonna leave a tag man drunk at 3 a.m. On the corner, you might not be looking for perfection either, you know. You're just looking for that thrill, you're looking for that adrenaline. So, different purposes for sure, you know, for different people. And I think most people that do murals in this life have probably already done vandal at some point or been in contact with people that do. And if they don't, bro, then, you know, that's what we call plants, kinda, you know, like culture vultures, I guess. I'm one, if it's like that, because, you know, I've not really been doing vandalism when I was young and shit, but I have a very deep love for art, you know. And for me, graffiti is art. Even though there's like vandalism attached and shit, bro, you know, for me it's just painting, bro. It's just one facet of painting, right?
Have you ever had a close call with the police or security? If yes, what happened?
Actually, yes, man. Not too long ago, was it? I was at the legal wall, and it was very early morning, like 7:38 a.m. And usually, man, the cops they roll in the tunnel and they don't even bat an eye. You know, they don't even slow down, or they just be doing their job. You know. But on that morning, bro, these guys they came out the car, and I was like finishing a little character, bro, near the floor, and they were basically telling me, bro, they was gonna give me a fine, bro, and I was like flabbergasted, bro, because I've been painting there for like the past 5 years, bro. Never had a single problem with anybody, and it's just like a known fact that it's a legal wall, bro. The spot that sells the paint is on the corner, and they be advertising it as a legal wall. And there's like a CBC reports on this wall being like legal for the past 50 years now. They just celebrated the 50 years, I think. So it was just weird, man, to have these guys pull up, and you know me, I know my rights, so I was not gonna talk to them, bro, for sure. So they asked me for my ID, bro. I just provided it to them, stayed silent, and they were basically trying to make me admit that I was doing graffiti, which kind of was, bro, you know. But at the same time, I just didn't want to have it come out my mouth, you know. So yeah, bro, I guess if you want to call it graffiti, you know, they were basically gonna give me a fine for vandalism, which is what it is. But you know, I was super calm and collected, bro, and they just ended up pulling out the car, and they was trying to give me a warning. Basically, they were just giving me a warning, and they said, what was funny though is they said they couldn't find the like municipal pad for like the fines and shit, you know, because it was like they were basically insinuating that if they would have found it, they would have gave me a fine, you know. It was like a $200 fine that they would have gave me. So I was like, you know what, bro? Like honestly, I wouldn't probably cared if I had the fine because I probably would have had material to press, like to press them in court because I think it's a legal spot. And I think they didn't know that, and maybe they looked it up while they was in the car. They were like, oh, you know, like, and they didn't want to like lose their authority on me, basically. But yeah, man, definitely felt some pressure there. But you know, I'm not called Motus for no reason, bro. I'm never say a thing to those pigs, unless it involves like something I need sorted out, you know, like a person missing or something, you know. But I don't trust these guys, you know, and neither should you. I'm just kidding, but for real though, it was not that stressful, you know. Like it could have been a lot more stressful than it was, but I felt like being pulled over, you know, basically when you're going too fast and you're getting pulled over. So, but I was glad I was not charged with anything, and honestly, I don't think it would have held in court, because there's so many people painting there all day every day, and they never stop by, so it would kind of count as discrimination at some point, because it would make no sense that I have a fine and these guys don't, you know. So, but I feel like they probably would have said like that I was not in the spot that I was in, you know. They probably say, you was doing it on this wall over there or something, you know, because they can. But yeah, not too worried about it for now. I feel like I won't put myself into positions where I can encounter the cops or get beat up, you know, on the side of the road. You know, I don't really. So, you know, I'm gonna just keep painting legal, bro, and hopefully pitch for some nice murals in my hometown this summer, so I can keep like painting and getting recognized for it, at least in a more graceful way, you know, because I feel like it's nice having recognition probably as a vandal by other vandals, you know, but I guess the opportunities to flip it as a business and to make a living off your art is a little bit harder, you know. So, but I know some people don't need that at all. So, me, it's just a way I've been living my life for a very long time. So, I don't want to really get a job to be able to not to buy paint and do illegal muralism, you know. That's kind of weird, but I guess, you know, to each their own, bro. I mean, if it makes you happy, you know. I know some people, bro, they have crazy issues going on in their life, and painting is definitely something that takes that pain away, you know. For a second, you're just like in the moment, but the amount of consequences it can bring is definitely to be reflected on before you do anything stupid, you know.
How is the graffiti scene in your country right now? Is it growing or becoming more restricted by laws?
I wouldn't know in Canada as much as in Montreal, because I've been living here for 2 years, and I can definitely say the style is evolving, no, because there's a lot more people that have access to better quality cans, cheaper cans, and there's a lot of construction here in Montreal and Quebec, so pretty easy to go around. I feel like we don't have a lot of police presence, you know, in like the suburbs and stuff, man. I don't know as much, but I feel like in Montreal the police is pretty busy with some actual crimes, you know. So I don't know, bro. I think the scene is growing in terms of numbers. I see a lot of new tags every year, you know. Like I see new names and stuff, and I know for a fact that if I'm inclined to paint, there's a lot of people that would have probably never even considered graffiti in their life that are probably starting to paint now, that they are like 40 years old, you know. And honestly, I think the older you get, sometimes the least you have to lose, you know. So I feel like the community here is a lot of very old OGs and a lot of like new cats, you know, like youth buying cans and going at it for real. I feel like the people that are up at the moment is like in the extremes. There's like this crew called BTH in Montreal, and it's basically like, yeah, 40-year-old like trade dudes, you know, like dudes that work in housing and like do manual jobs, you know, and they have a lot of money and a lot of investments on the side, and they buy some crazy amount of paints and do some crazy projects, you know. And there's a squad, you know. So and there's the youngins too. I see a lot of new names, bro. The TMA squad and the OSF squad also. And there's a lot of like more solo painters also, but I feel like I'm not really in the train scene as much. I don't bench that much, and I don't be hanging out in yards like that. So, but I see like the urban graffiti here is just, it's a very accessible sport, you know. I feel like back then it was more like if you was gonna do graffiti, bro, you was just fucking nuts, you know. Nowadays you say to somebody that you do graffiti and they'd be like, oh really? They're like not even fazed by it, you know, like they're not gonna call the cops on you, you know. Like I used to think, bro, me when I started painting, I used to think like, bro, like, you know, like you see those names on the street and then at some point you just like meet the dude or meet the chick that's painting, you know, and they're like, oh, I'm so and so, you know. And I'm like, bro, like that's great. Like why? Like it's crazy how people will give information, bro, you know, not knowing if like they're not, people are not very careful, you know. They're not as careful as they were before probably, but I feel like it was probably so much easier to paint before than, because there was no cameras as much and no AI and no, you know. Nowadays it must be a little bit harder, and people just keep painting, bro. Keep getting away with it, you know. I think there's not enough people to just take care of the problem as a whole, you know. So I feel like, yeah, it's evolving definitely, bro, and I think you don't get as much respect now for getting up, bro, as you used to, I feel. But like I said, bro, I was not writing in the 90s or judging graffiti in the 90s or even part of the scene whatsoever, but in the past 5 years, bro, I've already seen that there's a lot more people painting. There's style evolving also, and new paint coming out, you know. I think that's one of the biggest signs, bro, that there's a growth in the industry, is that the companies are evolving the product, doing new caps, you know, fat caps, bigger cans, fatter caps, you know, nicer pressure with the matte finish. The can, it costs less, you know. Like there's an industry evolving because people are consuming the product, and there's like demand for some more tools, some more quality tools, you know. Like in the 90s, bro, you would rack your Rusto and then paint with the stuck tip that's on there, bro. But nowadays, bro, if you're gonna buy a can at the store, the tip is like, it's perfect, you know. You're gonna have a perfect circle, bro, no overspray. And if you want like a smaller cap, you can buy one, bro. You can have this cap that goes this big. You can have this cap with the straw, so you can hit this high ass spot, you know. So I just think, bro, there's more branding than ever, you know, and it's getting very industrialized to a point where the real OG heads, they start to resent the culture because they're like, yo, it's getting too accessible, you know. Like anybody with just a head on their shoulder can paint, you know. And I don't necessarily disagree, because I'm the same with the music, you know. Like I think it's just fraudulent seeing somebody paint with no Rusto and getting a clean hit, and then you see the same quality from someone that did it only with Rusto. Then I think in my head I would give it to the guy with the Rusto, because it was harder getting to the same result, right? Same for the music. If you're gonna use splice to make your beat and then hit a placement, and then you're like, oh, I produced for Drake, It's like, well, bro, you made a beat out of a loop, and then it got placed not by you necessarily, and then you didn't mix it, and you didn't record it. But now you're flexing that you have a placement with Drake, but I put like 6 albums out this year and I did everything, bro. So, you know, it's just like there's levels to the way people think also of the quality of someone's work, you know. You're just gonna see the result at the end, but that's why when we display art in life, usually we put the medium and we put, you know, the way it was made, with which material, which paint, with, you know, so you can kind of know the backstory of it and kind of consume the art with all the informations, you know. So I think that's a big part of it, man. I think that's why I would say graffiti is evolving and growing, is because there's more people doing it. Industry is providing new tools, and also it's just like there's more and more nice graffiti out there, you know, which I think is a sign that people are getting nicer supplies, nicer mentorship, you know. On the creativity side, though, I'm not sure it's necessarily a good thing, but I have the same opinion for the music. There's creativity when you're looking for it, but you gotta look for it.
What is your number one piece of advice for a kid who just bought their first spray can today?
Um, Go hit that shit, bro. I don't know, bro. Like, you just got a can, bro. I think the 3 tips I would give at first is to understand the physics of the can, you know, that you're gonna press the nozzle and it's gonna come out. So, you know, hold the can parallel to the wall as much as possible, right? So you can have a nice clean spray, you know. Because if you're gonna tilt the can, then you're gonna start flaring out, you know. It's like it's coming out as a cone, right? So you got the dot on the wall, but like if you step back from the wall, you're gonna have like a bigger dot, but it's not gonna be as filled, you know. It's gonna start being shady. So if you got a can and you're trying to write your name, bro, you know, face the wall with the hole like this. Not like, don't press the hole towards your face ever, bro. You know, that's one tip I would say. And then just move your whole arm. You know, if you're gonna write with your wrist, you're gonna get flares, which is cool, bro, also, but there's like a way to do them that is nice. And I don't think if it's your first day with the can, I would suggest you start exploring that necessarily, you know. I would rather you just have you write your name clean in some bold font letters. And if you want to fill it up, then thicken up the lines, you know, and try to fill always in the same direction. If it's horizontal, you're trying to fill, keep it like this for the whole piece. And you could do one letter at a time or the whole piece at a time, you know. Then I would say, have fun, bro, and put a glove on. Because you're gonna have a hard time taking this shit off, man. And maybe put 2, because you're gonna be manipulating the can with the other one. And also, don't bring your nicest clothes to the session.
A huge thank you to Motus for taking the time to share their story with us. Hearing perspective from someone outside Romania shows us that no matter what language we speak or what country we live in, graffiti is a universal language. It's a global movement driven by passion, style, and the simple human need to leave a mark on the world. That wraps up today's video project. If you enjoyed this dive into graffiti culture, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment below. Is graffiti art or crime? Thank you for watching and see you in the next one.